Oh, I've been waiting for this guy.
Tube coral. This is literally, I think, like the only way you can get it in the game.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Gabe Plays All the Mods 9 to the Sky. This is episode 12, I think, and I will get to why I was so hyped up about the tube coral in a bit in this episode. But first, I wanted to show you guys, finally, we have what is about just over 50% full max size ultimate induction cell. This thing now has whatever PFE is. I don't even know which one that is, but it's a lot. It's got 2,000 cells in it right now, 256 ultimate providers at the top up there. Its stats are pretty crazy, 13.42 giga FE per tick possible, and the capacity is just absolutely massive. So pretty psyched about this. It's been a couple episodes, and I thought I'd get this done sooner, but I kind of underestimated how long it would take to build this. It's like just in the system, like we have a really fast ME system, but it still took like I think it took like probably close to 8 hours to do 2,000 of these cells, and then besides that, we were also waiting a while for the system to actually get the materials to do that. So it's been a long process, but we're finally here. You might be wondering what all this redstone is. This is the logic here to control our power system now going forward. Before, what we had, which is over here by these horses and villagers, is we just had a cell and it had a comparator here, and whenever this cell got up to, like, I don't know, 70% or whatever that is, it would turn off, and like that, and the reactor would turn off. And then as soon as it dropped below that, this torch would turn back on, and it would turn the reactor back on, and that would keep it on. But basically that just keeps it kind of like cycling back and forth for a long time. So like on, off, on, off, on, off. So what I'd rather it do with the big large capacity is do what the reactors over here can do. These power reactors, you're able to set them so that they stay between like 70 and 100. So the reactor will stop when it's full and start when it's less than 70% energy. So that's kind of the mode I'd rather this run on. And so I was playing around a bit with some redstone over here, and I figured out my logic. I'll run it through over here. This is just like the disconnected one right now. So what you can imagine here, this is like where the comparator would be for the reactor. So if we start back here, let's say this is the signal. It starts at 1, you know, and then it starts filling up and filling up and filling up and filling up and filling up. And so first off, right when it's at 1 right here, we have power right here going through, and this would be signaling to the reactor. So this is reactor's on right now. And then we have this coming through, going through. This guy right here, all this does here, when it gets to this threshold, which I think is like 7 or something like that, is it now just places this piston in this kind of signal locking circuit. So now it'll stay on, and we'll go all the way up to here, and we'll go up to, like, I'm pretty sure this is 14, basically, so like something like 90% or something like that. But now what it's done, right, you can see it's pulled back this reactor, or this piston. So this loop is on, and it's locked on, but what that did is pull this piston back. So now the reactor's off. And so now the power level in the induction matrix is going to drop down. It's going to drop, but what you can see is that because this piston was here, it locked this signal. So this is still off, still no signal to the reactor. And then it'll drop down, and then when it drops below this level here, this threshold, and you can set this wherever really, that piston will move away, and then this piston will turn back on, and boom, the reactor will turn on. The signal to the reactor will go again. And then once that signal turns on, it'll start filling up again, filling up, and turn off. And then it just repeat that cycle, off until it gets down here, and then on again, on, and then off, just like that. The only difference over here, which I have added as well, is that in this power signal to go to the reactor here, I have a few fail-safe signals in place. So I have these wireless redstone links here, and these guys these guys are the 3 fail-safes for the reactor. So the reactor has different warning outputs it can give. So over here on the logic ports, what I have is we have high temperature, excess waste, insufficient fuel. I don't have a damage critical one. I think if we get that far, like, this thing will just explode. And I also think like all of these should happen before you get to damage critical. But yeah, so this one here is set to insufficient fuel. This one's set to excess waste, which would just be if this fully filled up. And this one here is set to high temperature. If it goes high temp, then it'll also disable it. So what these do, and I have like a fake signal here. So let's say if insufficient fuel was here, then we'd come over here and it just sends, the signal arrives over here and turns this off. And now this power signal that would have gone to the reactor, which is this one here, is now off. So if we had ran out of fuel, or we have excess waste or high temperature, any of those will shut off the signal to the reactor. So yeah, that's basically like the gist of how it works. It's fairly simple, I think. Pretty clean. I might like mess around and try and like clean up that redstone further, but that's kind of what I want to do right now. That's like what I'm going with for now. All that's left to do here on the induction matrix is hook up the power from each of the turbines to the induction matrix. So I'm gonna do that real quick, and then we'll turn this baby on and start trying to fill up whatever the heck PFE 3.2 PFE is. Okay, everything is now connected here. Let me show you a little bit. So over here on this side of the induction cell, we've got 8 input ports, input induction ports, and on this side here we've got 8 output induction ports. From each of the turbines here, I have all these like output energy ports going down. Of course, with mechanism, like the more power cables you have, the faster the transfer. So that's why I've gone with just like these big stacks of like 8, or I think it's 10 on the turbines. But yeah, let me show you the kind of power highway that I like to call it that's going on underneath here. Basically, from each of the turbines, power gets pulled down, and then it goes all the way over here on this power highway onto the induction cell to the inputs. And then over here from the outputs, we have this huge power highway that goes all the way over here, and then just right here it connects into our system. And so then this cable then goes and is connected to everything else in our factory, in our base here. So we're like pretty set with that. Should have really good transfer rates and stuff. So I'm really happy about this. It's been a long time coming, and I'm pretty excited that it's finally working. Let me show you some of the stats that we can see on the induction cell here. So we are currently receiving input 1.71 million FE per tick, and then you can see our current power draw. So we're like well within our bounds here in terms of storage and output and input. And you can also see that right now our reactor is making more power than we are consuming on a system level, so that's good as well. And I know that I just checked this, the fissile fuel production that we have is keeping up with the reactor, so we're net positive on that as well. So this is just healthily sustaining our base here with a bit of margin, and hopefully we can always like turn up the reactor, and then if we need more fissile fuel, maybe upgrade that system a little bit. But I'm really happy with this. I do think it's going to be a long time before we get anywhere near max capacity on this thing, especially since it's not even full yet in terms of induction cells. That's like half. So yeah, I think we should be set. Right now it's at 1 level signal from the comparator. So it'll probably take a long time before it gets down here and actually shuts off. But, you know, whatever, that's cool. I like that quite a bit. So now that we have basically non-stop infinite power, and additionally, since last episode, all of our like high volume items are now in the mega bulk item storage cells. So like storage in the system is also not a problem because our highest number like resources are just in mega bulk storage. We're kind of free to do whatever we want. And what I was thinking we would do this episode is work on the thermal series mod, I think. I've dabbled with this a little bit in the background here and there to get some things to work faster. One thing that I use it for mainly is the accumulation of obsidian. So back here, we turn cobblestone into lava, and then that lava into obsidian with these magma crucibles and blast chillers. And then similarly over here, where our mechanism setup is, we also use a blast chiller to turn lava into obsidian to then keep our like mechanism enriching factory supplied with refined obsidian dust. So we're using a few places, and I think I want to I want to like have those machines a bit upgraded further. What I've already done is made it so that we can make the Enderium flux linkage amplifier. So the flux linkage amplifier is what makes the machines faster. The Enderium one, you need Enderium gears, which you get from Enderium ingots, which you get from Enderium dust, which you get from lead, apatite, and ender pearls. So we have lead, we have ender pearls, and we have, diamond, not apatite. And then after that, you have to have apatite dust. And so the only way to get that in this mod is by pulverizing tin ore. Tin ore has a 50% chance to give you apatite when you pulverize it, and to pulverize it with flint. So over here, this pulverizer, I've got just all of our tin ore being exported into the pulverizer. I've got flint being supplied, or flint's being supplied in the back here, and we are just slowly accumulating apatite, and then the tin ore dust just gets auto smelted in our smelting furnaces. And then on this one over here, their sandstone is pulverized, and that gives us, what does that one give us? That one gives us niter. And niter is needed for the soul infused linkage amplifier. We just need niter dust instead of apatite here. And then to get the soul infused gear, we need the soul infused ingot, soul infused dust, which is soul sand dust, invar, and apatite. So I've already set those things up here so we can make up to the Enderium upgrade for these machines. But there's still the shellite and the twinite ones. The shellite, you need the shellite ingot, which to make you need shulker shells. And the twinite one, I believe, you need amethyst dust. So actually, we could make amethyst. We could go straight to the twinite. Oh, I see. So the twinite is plus 110%. Wait, why are these seem very similar in percentage? Oh, I guess the negative of twinite is much lower than the negative of these guys here. But if we make the shellite, the power goes faster by a bit more. So I think I want to set up to make both of these. I think they'll be useful to do it. It looks like the twinite should be easy because we have amethyst crystals being made. The shellite, which is why I was excited for the tube coral, is because in order to get shellite, you need shulker shells. And in order to get shulker shells without doing like a mob farm, is we can use the combiner here from the alchemistry with lutetium and calcium carbonate. And calcium carbonate you can get from dissolving tube coral. So now that we have the coral blocks, we can put them into this phytogenic insulator and just produce more of them as long as we supply it with like bone meal and water, which we have both of those things. And then in order to get to lutetium, we just need to dissolve chorus fruit, which we also get from sifting endstone. So I'm gonna set up like an auto setup here to get the shulker shells Man, that's a tongue twister. And then I'll show you guys my setup for that once I have it going. Alright, we have the setup here going. I've got one phytogenic insulator, which is using tube coral, bone meal, and water. We get the water from the sink. The bone meal comes from the ME system. And then the tube coral, all I did was hammer those tube coral blocks that I got. And then that turned into just the tube coral here. And what it does is it takes one and produces two of them. And so I have this pipe pulling set to round robin. So one of the two will go to the dissolver, and then the other one will come around to the phytogenic insulator. So it'll always now it's just like an infinite loop of tube coral going here. The tube coral goes to this dissolver, which then creates calcium carbonate. The calcium carbonate goes over into this combiner, which uses calcium carbonate and lutetium to make the shulker shells. And over here we have a dissolver being supplied with chorus fruit, and the lutetium here. Why is it not doing it so fast? Lutetium. I'm not sure why it's not pumping in a lot of this at once. But I'm gonna take a look at this. I think it's kind of weird that it's not. Yeah, I don't know. I'll look into this, but the lutetium should be leaving here and coming over to this combiner and then turning into shulker shells. And then when you dissolve the chorus fruit, it also makes cellulose, which I have going to this compactor, which I've set to make lily pads for now, because eventually lily pads will be useful for lily pads of fertility, which speed up the growth of crops quite a bit. This will need a few other things, which will probably come from a mob farm, but that'll be later down the road. You can set this to do a bunch of different recipes depending on what you have. The cellulose, you can make a lot of wood and those kinds of items with it, so that's pretty helpful. I'm just gonna look into why this lutetium isn't pumping into here as fast as I thought it would. So give me 1 sec to check that out. Okay, so the reason the lutetium and the calcium carbonate were getting stuck here is because when I had this recipe locked, I had these items locked in the wrong spots. It wants lutetium and calcium carbonate on these sides, and when I had it before on this side and that side, it just wouldn't it just kind of broke it. So it's kind of dumb, but I mean, it works now as long as you just keep the recipe locked like this and then have the items in the right spot. So yeah, now we're getting these shulker shells, and then the next step we can do is set up just the automation to get the shellite gears and shellite ingots and that sort of thing. So I'll just set it up to do this dust and the ingots, and yeah, we should be good. Okay, I worked a little bit in the background here, and I put in a bunch of the recipes for a bunch of the thermal upgrades. So from my understanding, the higher the power level in the machine, the faster it goes in thermal series. So I've added these expanded RF coils, so they do 20 times transfer capability and 20% capacity for machines. So I did the recipes all the way up to twinite, which if you don't remember is just you need basically just amethyst dust and then endurium blend, which is I've already gone over. So I did those upgrades. Something else that's big in thermal series is even before these extra things that you put in the machine, what you should do is also put in these upgrade modules. Well, they're like an upgrade, but they're called integral components, and there's 4 different tiers: the hardened, which just takes Invar; the reinforced, which takes electrum and signalum; and the resonant, which takes endurium and lumium. We have all those things set up, ready to go. All these ingots and gears and stuff are just made from a different blend of dusts. The 4th tier is draconic, which we don't have everything we need right now yet. It takes netherite dust, which we have netherite dust on hand, or we at least have netherite, and we have the capability to turn it into dust. And then we need dragon steel, and to get dragon steel, you need Dragon's Breath. So we haven't gone to the end yet, but once we do, I think it looks like we can extract from the Dragon's Breath from the dragon head every 10 seconds, or we can use one of these loot fabricators to get Dragon's Breath. But I think that's like a little ahead of where we're at right now. I think, jeez, these guys are annoying. For right now, what I want to do is just like set us up with like a decent amount of upgrades on the machines we do have. So I've got our like our pulverizer here set up with a resonant integral component upgrade and 3 Enderium flux linkage amplifiers. That makes it go pretty quick now. And then in order to get the shellite upgrades as well, what we have to do is not only do we need like the shellite and the shulker shells, but we also need cinnabar, and the way we get that is just through a low chance when you pulverize gold ore. You'll get 2 gold dust for sure, and then cinnabar the 5% chance. So down here in the machine area, which is getting pretty busy and a little laggy for my game, but it's fine. Because this is just meant to be an area where we're not supposed to be. It's just all running in the background for us. I set up these 3 layers over here. So over here we have tin ore, which is producing the apatite and tin dust. And then here we have gold ore, which is producing the gold dust and cinnabar at a low chance. Oops, I'm getting stuck a bit here. And then on this row here, we're using sandstone, which is then just producing sand and niter for us. In order to get the sandstone, it's a little just to our system. We automatically get sand from crushing cobblestone and sieving it, or just crushing it 3 times. It's cobblestone, gravel, and sand. But we don't have like a big supply of sandstone, so I added the recipe to craft sandstone into our system, and you just add a crafting card here, and it will then use available crafters in the system to craft what we want and then export it. So that just keeps this chest here full of sandstone. You can do that with anything as long as you have a recipe for it and you're trying to export it. But yeah, we've got 10 of these machines each. Right now they all have the integral components in them, but I'm still making the other upgrades for them to go even faster. But that should like generate us like a decent amount of resources. Also, I realized with our setup here to get shulker shells that we were limited by the amount of lutetium we were producing. We are producing a lot of calcium carbonate, but we weren't producing lutetium fast enough. So what is it doing? Why is it taking? What's going on here? Why doesn't it want to? This thing is giving me so much grief right now. I'll deal with this in a second, but we used to be limited on lutetium, but now I just added a crap ton of resolvers here, and then in this chest over here, I pump in chorus root. It gets dissolved in all of them, and then I pull all their contents into this chest, which turns into cellulose and lutetium. The cellulose just goes into the system, so that we have like basically an infinite buffer. And then we export the cellulose now into this compactor to produce our lily pads. And then the lutetium should be exiting this chest and going into this combiner, but I'm not sure exactly why it's not doing that or why it's going so slowly. But I'll look into it for a bit. But like this is pretty good now. This setup, we're no longer limited by the lutetium. It is still a bit slow on the slower side, but I figure that like it shouldn't hinder us too much. Once we just generate a decent amount of shulker shells, like over time we'll get a huge amass, and then we'll be good to go basically on whatever upgrades. Because I don't suspect we'll be using these machines from thermal expansion too much, but they do come into play every now and then, like I've said, with the lava generation, obsidian, and stuff like that. So just want to make those processes a bit faster, and then we can move on from thermal series. So something else that finished in the background while I was working there is we now have 2,000 more ultimate induction cells. So we can take our induction guy and make him the max size now. Let's just clear out a few more spots in our inventory. Don't need the sword right now. That should be good. Yeah, so let's clear out a space in our inventory, and then we can head over there and complete our max size induction cell, which should be crazy. I wonder actually as well what that cell is at now in terms of capacity, since the reactor's just still been like constantly running. Let's see what we're at right now. We are at 407 giga FE, and that is still seemingly a tiny percentage of the power this could possibly hold, so that's pretty good. What I am going to do quickly is I'm going to turn off the reactor, and we might like run out of power for a second, just so that when I break this, the power won't have anywhere to go. And so I'll turn off the reactor, break that, build it back up, and then turn on the reactor again. So I just break this redstone torch here. Reactor's off. I'll pick that up in a second. Come up here, break this guy, break that guy. Hopefully it lets us pick this up. There we go. Now we'll just build this up quick, do all the layers. Good. Let me do one of these. I think this will be best. Okay, the wand's gonna break. 1 second. All right, fix up the wand, and we are done. That is an absolutely full induction matrix from Mechanism. Well, I don't know why I messed up my words there, but that is a max size induction matrix. Absolutely gigantic. I think in total, actually, I can check the resources really quick. Yep, you can see here when I request to make the cells needed for it, which is 3,840 ultimate induction cells, we use 6.5 million gold, 6.7 million iron, 9.9 million redstone, 1.3 million steel. We crafted 326,000 basic energy cubes. 245,000 basic induction cells were needed. We made 15,000 atomic alloys, 92,000 reinforced alloys. Like, just an insane amount of resources, but pretty cool. We used basically 500,000 osmium and 1 million lithium dust. So that definitely took a chunk out of our resources for sure. I'm actually not it's hard to tell how much resources we have now that we're in the bulk storage. But like in terms of redstone, we've got like 6 times, so we've got 500,000. I think we've got like maybe just like about 1 million redstone now, compared to we used to have like 20 million redstone, 20 million gold, 20 million iron. So that's pretty exciting. Real quick before I end the episode, we just finished making our Enderium flux linkage amplifiers for these machines over here for the pulverizers. So I'm going to go ahead and put those upgrades into here, and then yeah, we'll wrap up the episode. Alright, all done. This is now moving a lot faster through these machines. We're processing our ores. We might still be producing resources faster than we can manage them with this system, so I might expand this in between episodes, but I'm pretty happy with it right now. And now that we've made that induction matrix, we don't have a huge need for resources at this time. Alright, we can now turn the reactor back on, and we are looking pretty in the world. We are looking good. Really happy with the progress we've made, especially in this episode as well with the thermal series stuff. Just like one more check box to check off. Yeah, I think this was a good episode, guys. I hope you liked it. This looks pretty cool, pretty impressive, I'm not gonna lie. Pretty proud of that. Definitely like took a lot of work. This whole massive reactor room took a crap ton of resources, and I'm glad we did that stuff early on in the series on like making sure the ME system was capable of building stuff very quickly and that sort of thing. Yeah, I'm super stoked about this. Still to come, I want to do a fusion reactor and the SPS, so we can get like antimatter, dark matter, whichever one is whichever one it is. But yeah, that's what this remaining space in this area is probably going to be for, is for supporting those machines. But yeah, I think in the next episode it'd probably be cool if I like actually went for like the Ender Dragon or the Wither or the Warden, some boss of some sort, because we've just been doing a lot of technical stuff, and it'd be cool if maybe we moved on to fighting a boss or two, so we can unlock more technical stuff to do. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. This one's been pretty fun. I'll see you in the next one.